everyone, and welcome back. We are a Parentpreneur, and we talk about how to navigate success in business and in life. It's very important for us to be able to navigate success in business and in life because a lot of our whys are our family and our kids, and we do not want to leave them behind, or we don't want them to see the negative of us not paying attention to them just because we are trying to get that legacy that we want for them. Um,
Mhm.
Joining me today is Hayya Lee McDonald. She is a life coach and an amazing entrepreneur. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I'm Haya, and I have been an entrepreneur for 13 years. And the interesting thing is, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but what really drove it home for me was way before I had kids and way before I was married. So I remember it was my first job at Lifetime Television, and I was, in the finance department, which was, by the way, the last place I thought I would ever be because I was not a finance person. But anyway, there was a woman there. She was pregnant, and she had to go on maternity leave to have her child. And I watched her struggle with the decision of, do I come back to my job or do I stay with my child and raise my child? And I was like, I never want to make that decision. I don't want to put my child in daycare at 3 months and then I don't see them all day. I was like, that's not what I have in my vision for my life. And so at that point, I decided, yeah, entrepreneurship, that's what I want to do because I want to control my time. I want to control the time that I can spend with the people that are important to me. So that's been a driving force for me. And I had this idea that to be an entrepreneur, I needed to go to business school and I needed to work in the workforce somewhere for like 20 years and build up my credibility and all this stuff. And, we talked about this when you and I spoke earlier. This journey of life, it's not like this. It's like all kinds of curves and twists and turns. And so I'm grateful for the twists and turns because that's what led me to entrepreneurship. So I relocated to the Washington D.C. area from New York. So I went to undergrad in D.C., went back to New York, came back here, and I took a job that I absolutely hated from day one. And actually, my boss told me, "Yeah, this probably wasn't a good place to be because it's dysfunctional." That was in my first couple of weeks of the job, but I stayed there. There's this concept of golden handcuffs. You've heard of it. And I stayed there, but eventually, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 9 months, can't remember, I was laid off. Um, that was one of the happiest days of my life because I was like, oh, finally, I didn't have to quit the job. It just, it left me. And, my whole physical being and mind space was just affected negatively by being in that space. It was a toxic environment, and just being able to leave was a relief. Now, the woman who hired me, the director of HR, she's a really good friend now. But she said to me, "Hey," she had left the company shortly after I joined, and we were having lunch, and she said, "Have you ever considered life coaching, being a life coach?" She said, "Because you're really great at communicating with people and opening them up." And I was like, "No, I don't know what that is." Um, Funny story is, years before in my corporate job, I was sitting in a meeting doodling and writing about what careers I might be interested in, and life coach was at the top of that list, but I blocked it out completely for years. So I went and got my training, and that was 2009. And then 2010 January is when I started my business, and that was a life coaching business, and I did it for 6 years. Last two of those was in conjunction with the real estate investing business. So there's a lot that I learned in that journey, just a whole lot, but I also learned a lot about myself and what I'm capable of. But again, that driving force is, how do I keep control of my time? I don't want to have to ask permission to do the things that are important to me. So that's the backstory. A bit long, yeah, but that's the backstory.
Yeah, I would love to unpack that and some things that you learned that you took away to be able to do what you're doing now. How do you balance now having your family and your business? How do you keep that balance?
hmm I think a lot of people beat themselves up, myself included, when they think about balance, because I think a lot of people, especially moms, think that balance means one thing for everybody. But I've realized and I've learned over the years that balance is different for everybody. There's some things that are going to be meaningful to one person to do and not meaningful to the next person. And so, really, I think balance comes from knowing who you are and what your priorities are, and then selecting the things that you want to focus your attention and your time on, and discarding the things or putting them on the back burner at the very least that are not in that top priority area. I think for me, balance is that. So one of the things that's important to me, and someone may look at my schedule and say, well, you should be working and doing whatever, but on Fridays at 9:30 in the morning, I take a bass guitar lesson because that's one thing for me. I got my bass almost 20 years ago, and I took an 18-year break from practicing, from learning it. And my husband's like, well, my business coach, maybe a year ago, he said, well, Hire, what do you do for fun? What do you love? I said, well, I love music. And he said, your face really lights up. He said, but what are you doing about it? We're talking about building systems in your business, but what are you doing for you? And I was like, so he said, well, now, what have you put aside? I said, well, my bass guitar. And so I went out and got bass lessons. I've been doing that for almost a year now. And it looks counterproductive, but it's not, because it uplifts me. It gives me that space to do something else, to free my mind, indulge my heart. So that's part of the balance as well. My day is based around my daughter's school schedule, because I can say, yeah, I can work all day. And if I had my druthers, yes, I would work all day because I love what I do, right? I love real estate. I love the business, and I could talk about it all day. My husband needs to tell me to shut up sometime. We can't talk about real estate like while we're going to sleep. From when she goes to school from 9:30 a.m. to 3, that's when I'm available for work and for business. After that, my time is with her and with my husband, so that we can have that family time, because it's so easy to go through the motions every day and do the work, and your family gets pushed to the wayside.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, at the end of your life, it's not about how many deals did you close. What are the relationships? It's about, what are the relationships you had? How did you truly live life? And how did you uplift other people? What
Yeah.
did you leave in this world? That's what it's about. And so that's how I think about balance, how I weigh what I'm going to do versus what I'm not going to do.
Yeah. So picking up on that, how do you is that how you prioritize too? As you say, I know some people are like, these are my three big rocks for the day. This is how I'm going to prioritize my day. How do you prioritize your time and manage that in your household?
Yeah. So it's an ongoing challenge. And one of the things I'll tell you I need is a personal chef, because I don't,
Same.
I need that. I love cooking when I want to cook. I don't love cooking every single day, and because it's like, okay, now this is one more thing I've got to
Yeah.
factor into my day.
Yeah.
So on my wish list is a personal chef. If anyone wants to come like intern for me and do that, that'd be fantastic. But um, prioritizing my day, like I mentioned, my time with my husband, time with my daughter, that's really important. Also in the morning and in the evening, or whenever it works that I'm able to stay awake, um, I also take time to spend with God, because my faith is really important to me. Being able to listen and be guided in life and in business, um, by God's word. So I take the time to do that. Now, never mind you. Sometimes if I'm doing that at night, I might fall asleep as I'm reading, reading. But that's that. But during the day, the work day, I prioritize things that are revenue generating. That's important to me, because if I only have X amount of time, I need to make sure it's really productive. Other things that I have to learn over the years, and if I could go back to a new entrepreneur and give one piece of advice, I'd say hire an assistant sooner than you think you need one, because you can't do everything by yourself. If anyone's read the book, if you've read the book E-Myth, it's all about, it's called short for entrepreneurial myth. And it's building a business that serves your life, not your life serving a business. And so um, it's really figuring out, okay, what do I want to create at the end of my life? What do I want to leave here? And so I prioritize the things that are in that. It's called your primary aim. I've written that down, my eulogy, all that stuff. What do I want to leave? So I prioritize the things that get me closer to that. I prioritize my team. Um, we have a team of, I hate to call them virtual assistants because they've been with us a long time. They're integral to the team, but we have we have to take ourselves out of the technician role, which is what Emith talks about. You start the business because you have a certain skill and ability, but eventually, as it grows, you have to be strategic. You have to be the person that's guiding the company strategically, and so that's where I am right now. So more technician oriented things that are important to do, but they don't necessarily need to be done by me. Those get delegated out. We have an executive assistant who recently joined us because I reached the point where I was like, okay, this to-do list is not getting shorter, and I got to move that over to somebody. So, she's brilliant, and she's taking a lot of things off my plate, my husband's plate, and our director of operations, so that we can focus on more strategic things that drive the business forward. Because at the end of the day, our team, if I make the wrong decisions as to how I'm prioritizing my day, it doesn't just affect me and my family. All these people that work with us, they have families too that depend on them. If this business isn't successful, their families will suffer. So that's something that's really at the back of my mind and guides what I do in the course of the day, what I prioritize.
That's amazing. I think you hit that nail on the head where you're like, well, there's different priorities for different days, different times of your life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and something really like going back, something that you said, and I was like, whoa, like hadn't I don't really hear moms say that, right? When I asked you about finding the balance, you picked out something that was personal to you and not personal to your kids. And a lot of us as moms,
Mm-hmm.
identify our priorities with them first. It's
Mm-hmm.
funny that way. I
Yeah.
love that you did that. That's amazing. I
Yeah.
definitely want to hear you play sometime.
I'm learning. My guitar teacher will probably be like, I need you to practice more. But again, that's one of those things that I've got to now work into my list like every single day to practice. So that's continuing. I'm impressed with my progress. I just, want to do more and be more.
Yeah,
But yeah, one of the things that's with that, we want to give to our kids and to our spouse and everybody else who needs us. But one thing that someone shared with me a long time ago, and I don't even remember who it was, you can't give from an empty vessel, so you have to fill up yourself, so that you can be able to give. Because if you're giving on fumes, well, you're not giving your best. So,
that's
yeah.
true. That's very, very true. And also, I want to just put it out there that also the book that inspired me was like who, not how. And it was like, oh, that is so important. Who can I find to do this thing that I do not have the time or space to do anymore?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so it's like what you said, finding people and just putting those systems in to be able to work for you so you can become even more successful at what you do.
Right. Right.
So, I want to talk a little bit about legacy building.
Mhm.
What is your vision for long lasting legacy?
Mhm. So part of that is tied up in, well, my family has always, the history in our family, we've always talked about real estate. It's something that um, has always been talked about as a way to build wealth, something to leave that's tangible. I am an immigrant, we're a family of immigrants, and that experience of picking up your life from one country and rebuilding it from scratch in another place, it's someone who hasn't experienced it doesn't understand the amount of work and emotional work. There's work everywhere, when you're rebuilding your life in some place new. And so for me, what I want for my daughter, we have two daughters. My husband and I have two daughters. One is in heaven. What I want for my daughter who is here is that she doesn't have to start over from scratch when she gets to, adulthood. Because we've seen that in generations. Our parents, their parents worked so hard, built so many things, but then the next generation starts over. And it's not that I want to do everything for her and not have her work. I want her to have the mindset of you're able to create whatever you envision you want for your life. That's really what, more than, wealth and tangible things, I want to leave her with that mindset. I want her to see me and see my husband creating things, making things happen, and knowing that everything is possible. So that's really what I'm building out. From a tangible perspective, we're looking to acquire properties, because that is something tangible that they don't make more real estate. Like the world is the world, and the land that's here is the land that's here. So we want to have that real estate that we can actually pass on to her, that she can leverage in many different ways. But more than anything, the legacy is showing her what's possible. My purpose in life is to be a guiding light for other people. And so that means I have to be able to realize what my gifts and talents are and leverage those to help other people find theirs and use it. So that's what I want to leave in this world.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really inspiring. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. I also wanted to talk a little bit about your coaching, like how your coaching company, how are you going about that? Are you doing that on your own? Um, who are you teaching? Who are you reaching out to? Who is your ideal client?
So my coaching business, I actually closed down my coaching business in 2016, and it was a conscious decision. It was not an easy decision. At the same time, I'm still a coach because that's who I am. And what I've learned, and this is for anyone who's beating themselves up about not being successful in whatever endeavor they tried before. Um, your gifts and your talents are what they are. The vehicle may change. So the vehicle changed from having a coaching business. My skills and talents are still there. So I use those now with my team to help develop them. And I also use them when I'm talking to sellers to close deals. And so, as far as people are always asking me, hey, hi, can you coach me in this? Can you coach me in that? And I've made a conscious decision not to have a coaching business. Now, I may end up back there just because, you can only run so far from what you're being called to do. But as far as finding clients, again, I think everything goes back, and this is kind of like how we operate in the short-term rental, mid-term rental space. You have to know who your ideal client is. You have to know who you are and who you want to serve. I know who I am. The people I want to serve are people who um, our motto, I'll just go back to this. Our motto for our company is good people doing good things with and for good people. That theme of goodness runs throughout. So when I look to work with people, I'm looking to work with people who have a heart with good intentions. They also have a spirit that likes to take action, because one of the things that made made me make the decision to close the business down. And this was based on also guidance that I got from reading E-Myth, which was a relief. Um, I don't want to drag anyone along. I want to work with people who, are fired up by their own dreams. And that goes whether I have a coaching business or not. Those are the people I want to work with. I don't want to drag anybody along, because eventually that's going to burn me out. And if I'm burned out, how am I going to serve my purpose, in life? So, there you go. But yes, the coaching thing, I've gotten a lot of requests, and I may end up back there.
Well, that's really, really cool. Yeah, when something calls for you, it just happens, and
Yeah.
you definitely have to listen and dive into it.
Mhm. Mhm. For
So tell
sure.
us a little bit about your wholesaling business. Yeah, you have a wholesaling business, right?
Yeah.
Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about
So so we've been wholesaling since 2014, and so we've done a lot of deals, a lot of great deals. We specialize in difficult transactions, so problems, problems upon problems upon problems. Those are the kinds of deals that we like. Big problems. We peel back the layers. We work with a lot of attorneys a lot of times. Um, but those deals, sometimes they take longer, but those deals end up being really big deals because other people are intimidated by the problem, or it just isn't going to be fast enough for them. But those are the things. I've always been the kind of person who doesn't necessarily follow the beaten path. So I'm always going to look for the blue ocean thing, and that is our blue ocean. We really solve those complex problems. So, for example, one of the deals we did a few years back, and actually we're working on another one that's similar now. The My husband and I drove by this house. We like to take drives, just drives and look around and stuff. And I was like, "Oh, honey, that they really need to take care of their gutters. It looks terrible." He's like, "No, sweetie, no one lives there." So I was like, "Oh, well, let me go look this guy up," because the lights were still on at the front. The Washington Post was being delivered. The chimney was still smoking. So I'm calling and calling, and no one is answering. So finally, I go back to the neighborhood, and I found a neighbor to talk to. And she said, "Oh, by the way, yeah." I said, "Well, I don't even know if the guy is still alive." She's like, "Wait, yeah, last Thursday, the police came and got him out of the house. He'd been dead for a little while in the house." So, but this when I looked at the property after we drove by, it was on the tax delinquent list, property tax delinquent list. Um, so that was the first problem. But now we have the problem: the guy is deceased. Okay, well, the second problem is that he has no next of kin. So what do we do here? Who's going to sign my contract? And so we embarked on this journey of finding next of kin, did a whole genealogical search, and we do have a research team. We can find unfindable people. That's one of the things we do really, really well. So we found an heir who was like a first cousin who met him 20 years ago at somebody's funeral, and this is how we got that deal done. We made 120,000 on that deal because it was a problem that was big enough and nobody else knew how to solve it. And we like those. So anybody with problem deals like that, send them my way. I like those.
That's amazing. I know I've heard so many times, like, oh my gosh, like this so I don't even want to mess with them, those properties that have so many problems because you have to deal with all the issues and then you have to go and call and make sure and find out who and how. And it's
Hmm.
just a whole process. That's so
Yeah.
cool. Who takes care of that for you in your business? Do you do that?
So I used to do all of it, like chief cook and bottle washer is when how the term goes. That used to be me. But we brought on our first team member back in 2017. She's still with us. She does research and she's grown over the years. I trained her in the research, but she does research. We recently hired a data specialist to also, leverage all the data that we have and turn those into deals. And so Aisel and Rebecca on that team, they handle those kinds of things. I just sent Aisel a message last night because my brain doesn't sleep. And I said, hey, and she's on the other side of the world, basically, so daytime for her. But sent her a message, hey, I'm looking, we got to find this next of kin for this person who's dead and has no next of kin. So she does that.
That's amazing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I see how you're using, leveraging other people and bringing them onto your team to be able to, what I love is build wealth together. So
Yes.
make sure that they are getting paid for their time and bringing home some income for their families, and that you guys are doing that too. That's so
Mm-hmm.
amazing. I love to hear about that.
Yeah.
Um, to wrap up, what is an advice or something that you want to share, an insight that you'd like to share with our viewers about, real estate or doing
Mm-hmm.
business in general and
Mm-hmm.
having a family and being able to do all of it successfully?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, some people listening may be thinking about becoming entrepreneurs, and I'll say this, and this is never to discourage anyone, but again, it goes back to knowing who you are. Entrepreneurship isn't for everyone. There's a discipline that's needed, so you really examine yourself and examine what it is you want to create. You may need to partner with someone, but truly try to examine yourself. And what I used to do with my coaching clients, I'd have them drill down on 5 levels of why, because you need to really get to the heart of the matter, not just, oh well, I want to do this to make money. Okay, oh, I want to do this to help my family. Okay, well, why, and get to the very bottom. Okay, and then you go, okay, well, if this is my why and this is who I am, then how do I make that possible? I think everything comes back to who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. So take that time to examine it. And I think Pace, in his book, Wealth Without Cash, that's one of the very first exercises he has people do. Examine your why. And I think he has you go down to 7 levels. So I think that is an important first step for you to figure out, is this entrepreneurship, is this a path I really want to go on? You shared in our interview together so many places in real estate, but you have to find the one that matches with you.
Hmm.
Yeah, know thyself, do the
It's
work.
so, yes, it's so
Yeah,
important. I mean, doing
yeah.
something every day that you do not enjoy is not going to bring you happiness. And if you're not
Hmm.
happy, the people around you are not happy, and it just doesn't create a good environment.
Yeah, it's just misery. Let's not do that.
Yes, for sure. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
What is something that our viewers can help you with? in your business? What do you do?
Yeah, so we are acquiring properties this year and holding on to them. So we're still doing wholesaling, but now holding on to assets, buying and holding. And so we're looking for people who want to grow their money. So private money lenders, people who want to grow their money rather than having it sit in an old 401k or a bank, just not doing a whole lot. We can make your money do a whole lot, and we invite you to talk with us about what those opportunities are. We relish the opportunity to make things clear for people because a lot of people don't know what that involves. Like, what does being a lender involve? So, really looking to partner with people who want to make more of their money, make it work harder for them.
It's amazing. Well, thank you. Thank you. How can people
Yeah.
reach out to you?
So my IG handle is on the screen. It's Hayya Living, HAYYALIVING, and that's something someone came up with a long time ago when I was doing my coaching business. So Hayya Living, you can connect with me there. I'm also on Facebook, Hayya Lee McDonald. Happy to connect with you guys and reach out to me if you need inspiration, guidance, boost up. Definitely reach out to me if you have deals that are problem deals that you think might be dead, or you can't find the seller. Reach out to me. Happy to help.
Thank you. Thank you again
Mhm.
for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this interview. And I know I learned a whole lot. So
Awesome. It
if
was
any of you,
great.
yes. So if any of you are struggling like me to be able to balance everything in life with our kids, our partners, business, or anything else, we hope that this episode gave you some strategies and tips so that you can also organize and just use those things to be able to be successful in not only business but life. We encourage you to follow Heya on the socials, and me. You can reach me at _ Betsy Rodas so that we can help you, connect with you, and just encourage each other. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much for watching.
Thanks, Betsy.
I hope you like it in the comments below. Thanks for watching.